So in this video, I wanted to cover the resources that I used in preparing for STEP. I personally wanted to get another pass of as much information as I could before taking STEP. And I had a lot of reasons for that. For starters, for me, that really helps give me confidence and calm my anxiety about taking a very important exam. Knowing that I'd kind of seen everything again and that nothing could throw me off. And so when I approached every question, I approached it with the good feeling that I have seen this before, I know this information, I just need to suss out what's going on. And that really helped me. I never got to a point where I would read a question and just say, I don't know this. Like, I don't know this information, so I'm just gonna guess. I used Boards and Beyond, Pathoma, and Sketchy. And I tried to do each of those once. And for any weak areas, I would go back and rewatch the video. For example, I found myself getting some questions wrong in nephrology. So I went back and I reviewed the nephrology section, and that helped my score. So this is an evolving process. Your strategy for studying for STEP is going to change as you move through the process. And so you need to be open to being able to do that. And you need to continue to do the things that you know work for you. This is just like in the beginning of medical school, right? If something has worked for you before, it'll work for you again. If something didn't work for you before, it probably won't work for you now, okay? So I think it's the most useful to utilize resources that you've seen before. Why do I think that's important? If we go into the science of learning, your brain already has a scaffolding for that information because you've used that resource before. You've seen the content before, the way that it's presented, and so your brain is already familiar with it. So when you're reviewing it again, you're seeing it again, you're truly consolidating that information. You're consolidating it, and that's what's important, having that ability to access that information. So I would try using resources that you know worked for you before and that you're familiar with. Again, for me, it was Boards and Beyond, Pathoma, Sketchy, and questions. The only proven way from the studies that have been done to increase your STEP score is by doing more questions. That's the only evidence that we have. However, I would take that with a grain of salt because I think that says doing fewer questions can hurt you, but I don't think it necessarily says just by doing more questions you will get a better score. There is a correlation, but I think it's really important the way that the questions are utilized, because realistically most people do at least all of UWorld, right? Yet there's a lot of score discrepancy. So I think the way that you utilize these questions is very important. I think that honing your test taking skills is very important. And really diving in when you get a question wrong, or if you're noticing that you're getting similar questions wrong, that there is a knowledge gap there. And if there's a knowledge gap there, it should be filled. And you can do that using the resources that you know have worked for you before. So take time when you're reviewing to cover those gaps. Those will help increase your score. That is the highest yield thing you can do, right? Think about it. If you come in, let's say with 75% of the information, that's your base, 75% of the information, but you have weak areas. Maybe, in endo, you're constantly scoring in the 90s, you're killing endo, but in neuro, you find yourself getting more questions incorrect and you have lower scores compared to others. That means that you should spend some time reviewing neuro. Does that mean you neglect endo completely? No. But as I mentioned previously, you have a limited amount of time to study for STEP, so you want to be covering the highest yield content for you. And that means areas where you have weaknesses. So you can use your question banks to decipher where those weaknesses are. You can use your practice exams to decipher where those weaknesses are and hit those first and hit them harder, because that's going to give you the most yield for the amount of time that you're putting in and will help you bump that score up higher. If you guys have more questions, things that you want me to address specifically, let me know. Put it down in the comments. We can talk about it. And I really wish you guys luck. Again, you guys are near and dear to my heart. I want you to do well. I want you to succeed. And given the conditions right now, you know, you might be studying in a place that you're not accustomed to studying, because maybe you study in the library or a cafe and those aren't open right now. So just keep pushing through. Try to simulate test-taking environment. If you've got a desk, put it in a, you know, a quiet room or a quiet area away from everything else. Kind of, you know, separate yourself and just keep pushing. You guys are gonna do great. You guys are all smart and driven, and you're going to succeed. If you put your mind to it, you're going to succeed regardless of the circumstances. So let me know if you need anything and what other topics you want to talk about. I was thinking about doing a video on test taking skills, which we can do. If that's something you guys are interested in, just let me know.